Okay. So now what we're going to be doing tonight is, I don't know whether you guys have read the assignment for the week yet. We're going to be putting together a tri-fold brochure. What I want to do is I want to take the next logical step first, and that is to talk to you a little bit about taking that very same logo that we worked on last week. And let me open up Illustrator so I can show you. Here's our logo. This is the same logo that we worked on last week, okay? And what we're going to do with this is, I'm going to hide that layer for a second. So there's our logo. And if you were to look at our swatches, you remember we have Pantone and Pantone, right? So we all know how to do Pantone color here. Here's the thing I want you to understand about this. If we were to use this logo just the way it is right now, and let me show you something. If I click on that logo, you see what happens up there? What happens in the swatches, guys?
It highlights the color.
Why?
Because
what was the answer? Because I couldn't actually quite hear it or see it.
You're not seeing it or hearing it?
Everyone answered it once, so I did not hear what the proper answer was, and I'm barely seeing what's going on.
What's wrong?
It's just small.
Have you tried?
Oh, you mean the little swatch? You're talking about the swatch?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that is our Pantone. We have two Pantone.
Okay.
Yeah, and all I was trying to show is that this is a Pantone color.
Okay.
And the whole point of tonight is this tri-fold brochure that we're going to do. If we were to use these two Pantone colors, they in fact are spot colors. And the printer would know to print this using 2 additional plates, which would mean the printing job would become extremely expensive by adding those 2 additional plates. So what we're going to do first is we're going to learn how to take a logo like this, which has been set up to be Pantone colors, and how to convert it to process colors. That's one of the most important things, is that you realize that you do convert these colors. You have to have these processes in place when you actually go in to produce a tri-fold brochure. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you gone in to take a look at the announcements yet, you guys?
Yep.
Okay. Did you guys download the files that I left up there for you?
Yep.
No, you did?
Yep.
Okay. So did you see the template that I sent you for the tri-fold brochure?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So
it was after seeing the video on how to set it up, so I'd already done one.
Okay. You can use the one that you set up. However, let me explain something to you, and I'm going to very quickly explain it, and I'm going to say it again when we get into InDesign. It's always a good idea when you're producing something like this. You're going to be working with a particular printer. It's always a good idea to talk to the printer and find out what the printer can do for you. And I mean everything that the printer can do for you. Very often, the printer will have these templates made up that they can give you, so you can use their templates. So it not only will save you some work, but it'll guarantee by using their templates that the work will be all that much more perfect. So since we don't have a printer involved in this, this is a fictitious project. It's a real project because people make tri-fold brochures by the dozens. It's a real project, but it's a fictitious project. I'm taking the place of the printer. So I'm giving you that template. Just like you should know to ask the printer, does he have a template and will he supply you the template? So that's why I kind of want you to use my template, because I want you to learn that these things do help. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So I'm glad to see that you got the template. You have the logo from last week. You have created this logo using these 2 Pantone colors, right, everybody? And did anybody have any trouble with that last week, or any questions at all about that process? Are you all happy with that and good?
I chose slightly different Pantone colors.
That's fine. I told you I wanted you to pick the Pantone colors as long as you picked colors that were from the Pantone
Yeah.
coated, solid coated, Pantone solid coated. Is that what you used?
Yes.
Then you're good. I didn't specify a particular color to pick. I said to you basically, you know, this is an aqua logo and you guys pick some nice blues. I wanted to give you as much freedom as I can to be creative with it. So yeah, so basically you guys should have this logo and it should now be set up for Pantone color. So here's the deal. If you notice up here at the top, mine says Aqua Logo Brochure Start.ai. See it?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So here's what I want to first start off telling you. When you create a logo like this, you are absolutely certain to be using this logo for Pantone color and process color. So one of the very first things that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to duplicate the logo in Pantone color and duplicate it in process color. So where this might be something that you could kind of figure out for yourself, I'm going to walk you through this process because it's an absolute essential thing. A logo like this is going to be used many, many places. And it'll even be used on the web. So down the line, you're even going to want to turn this into an RGB color as opposed to a CMYK color. You're going to want to do all these different things. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to show you how I would go about creating my Pantone version and my process version. Then I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick, but we'll get to that. So let's take one thing at a time. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this logo a little bit, all right? We've already done the process version of this, and that's kind of what we're looking at here. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to the File menu, and I'm going to go Save As. And I'm going to go onto my desktop. Now, let me explain something to you. I'm going to be doing a number of different things tonight. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do is I want to go on my desktop. I want to create a folder. All right? And then I'm going to call this Tonight. Okay? I just, you know, don't have a better name for it, and this will work. Tonight. So I'm going to click on Tonight and open it up. And I'm going to change this to Aqua Logo. And this I'm going to call Pantone, P-A-N-T-O-N-E, Pantone, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm saving this thing as the Pantone version, save, okay? Now, the only thing that isn't done on this, and I'm going to leave this at their default, we talked about this a little bit. The only thing that you really have to think about right here is the version, and in our particular case, we're going to stay with CS6. But I think I mentioned to you last week I had a printer tell me that they didn't have CS6, and in fact, they wanted me to go into CS5, and I would have just done that by clicking that. Remember me talking to you about that?
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Were you just saying yes?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So anyway, I'm going to hit OK. And now look, Aqua Logo Pantone.ai. So what I'm doing essentially is I'm saving a .ai version of this as the Pantone version, and the colors are right there. They're already converted to Pantone. All right? So the only thing that I haven't done with this, and I have a reason that I'm not doing it, is if you remember I showed you how to use the artboards, and I trimmed the artboard down to the size of the art. Remember me doing that last week?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm not doing it yet because I'm going to be doing something. I'm going to show you a little. Guys, got to keep it quiet or I have to shut the mics down. I'm going to be showing you a little trick in a little while. So I'm going to leave this thing big, and that's the only reason I'm doing it. Otherwise, I'd trim this down. All right? So let me go up here and go File, Save As once more. This time I'm going to change it from Pantone. I'm going to call this Process, P-R-O-C-E-S-S. So this is going to be my hit save. There it is. And I'll keep it as CS6. So here's my Aqua Logo process, okay? So the idea behind this is that I'm going to end up with two versions, the original versions of my logo. One of them will be in Pantone and one of them will be in Process. Now, anytime that I want to go in and create any kind of a version of this logo for Pantone, I would open up that particular file and then I could size this. Remember, we're in Adobe Illustrator and you can make this as big as or as small as you need. It's the same with Process. Remember, tonight what we're going to be doing, like I told you, eventually we're heading in the direction of creating a 4-color Process Tri-fld brochure. And as I said to you a few minutes ago, you can't really use Pantone colors for these logos, or the printer will have to use separate plates, and that will cost you money. So again, what we want is we want to convert these colors. So are we clear so far? Any questions?
No.
All right, so we know that we have Pantone colors up here because each one of these colors is a Pantone color, and it has that little corner that's clipped with the dot in it. That means spot color. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go in and we're going to want to convert these two colors from being a Pantone color to being a Process color, okay? And we're going to do it in the Process logo version. So the easy way to do this is to just come over here and double click on that. And what we get is our swatch options. Now, here's the deal. We have a color type right here. See where color type is? See what it says? It says spot color.
Yeah.
Here's the color, and it says spot color. If I drop this down, you see where it says Process color?
Yeah.
Real simple. All we do is we click on Process color, and then we hit OK. Now, before I hit OK, I just want to tell you, oh, by the way, this is another step. Give me a second here. Here's another step. This probably will also make sense in a minute. Let me just do this. I'm getting a piece of paper here. All right, check this out. CMYK. Do you see where I am?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, under cyan, C equals 55. I'm writing this down. M equals 29. Y equals 0. K, 14. Okay? So I'm going to hit OK. Oh, actually, you know what? Before I do this, I could actually do it right here and right now. Watch this. I'm going to come up here, and instead of keeping this as Pantone P107-2C2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in C and underscore 55, M underscore 29, Y underscore 0, K underscore 14. Oh, and I'm actually going to add, a space there, and I'll add a space there, and add a space there. So I have now C55, M29, Y0, K. Hit OK. Notice what happens to my color. Can you guys see what happens to my color?
Yeah.
What happens to my color? Somebody tell me.
It's no longer a spot color.
That's right. And when I sit on top of that, it's now showing me CMYK. So this is what I'm basically doing, is I'm coming in here and I'm going to modify my color. It is, in fact, the same color. It hasn't really changed. It has just become a process color. Now, this process color, the printer will know automatically, go in, and it becomes part of the color separation, and it will be broken down into its 4 primary tones of cyan, 55%, M, 29%, Y, 0, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to do that to both of these colors. Here's the second one. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to type in C underscore 83, space M underscore 43, space Y underscore 0 space K underscore 41. I'm going to change this color type from spot color to process color. And again, see over here, this is the color. I'm not going to have any trouble with it. Oh, and by the way, do any of you know what that little indicia right there is indicating? You see what I'm pointing at, everybody? See that right there?
Yeah.
You guys remember when we talk about color modes? There are different color modes. Process color or Pantone color or web color. Each one of those is CMYK is a color mode. Look, let me just drop this down and show you. There's a grayscale is a color mode, RGB, HSB, CMYK lab, and web safe RGB. Okay, so we're talking about color modes. That little symbol right there is telling me that the color that I have here is out of web or gambit. It's out of gambit. If I were going to try to use this color for the web, which I'm not, that color would change to that color right there in order for it to be in gambit. In other words, this color cannot really be correctly reproduced in a web color. So do you understand what that little thing means? And if I clicked on that right now, it would change the color, which I don't want to do because this is going to actually be CMYK, and I don't get a symbol telling me it's out of gambit, it's out of range. It's perfectly fine for CMYK. It is just not fine for web. So am I making sense with that?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, but do we know why?
Why is it? Because each of these color modes have their own unique range of colors, and they don't overlap 100%. Some of the colors are not reproducible in print and in web. They don't match up 100%. Does that make sense, I guess?
Yes.
It's understood. I'm just still not sure as to the why, but I don't know if we know the why. So,
Well, then I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that. What was it?
It's because the display isn't able to show the color quite properly when you put it on different screens. So
okay.
No, actually, no, not quite. Let me really clarify this for you. Well, CMYK and RGB are different color ranges. There are different numbers of colors in both of those ranges. And if you have a certain range of color in CMYK, the range in RGB isn't going to match up 100%. So you aren't going to get every single color in CMYK and RGB to match up. So what this little warning is saying is that, hey, the color that you want in CMYK isn't going to work in web. And in order for it to work in web, you have to change it. And I don't know whether you can really see this or not, but if you really look closely at that little chip there and look at the one right below it, you'll notice that the one below it is a slightly different color. Can you notice that at all?
Yeah, it's slightly lighter and maybe a little more yellowy.
Yeah. So you see what's happening here is it's saying to you, this is the best I can do if you want this to be web correct. So that's why I'm pointing this out, because you have these little issues that come up. And right now, we're not going to be doing anything with the web, but I just want to let you know a little bit about this stuff. And really what we're concerning ourselves with tonight, process color and the color mode of CMYK. So that's now this color will become correct. Now watch, I hit OK. And there I now have Pantone color CMYK and CMYK, and those are the colors. So both of those colors now are going to be fine for us to use in our production tonight, okay? So do you guys think you could do this, create a logo, your logo this way? Do you think you know how to do this now?
Absolutely.
Great, okay. No questions at all?
No.
Okay.
Actually, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Well, it's not going to be done for this one, but if we did make it significantly different, would it actually change the color of, like, for example, if we had chosen to do the web safe version, would it have changed the color of our little sideways V shape?
Mhm.
Would it have updated the image
It would
with
change,
the
it would,
color?
no. It would change the chip.
Okay.
And then what you would have to do is you would, well, let me see. Let me see. Click on that chip. You see what it did? It highlighted that color. So this color on the desktop, because I converted it in this file, look, Aqua Logo Process. In this file now, this is the actual process logo. If I go back and go File, Open Recent, and I find my Pantone version, if I click on this, this is the same logo, different file. Where is it? Right here. Different file. Click on it, and I have my what? Spot color. So in this particular file, which says Pantone, these are Pantone. In this one here, these are process. Now, if I had gone in and if I had done a web version, and I could have done it just by going Aqua Logo Web, and if I went in and converted the color to web colors, they would change. Then what would have to happen is I would have to submit that change to my bosses, who would have to approve the color change because the color would shift slightly. Do you understand?
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out if activity-wise, if you would change the swatch that is tied to that shape on the image, if you change the color there, to change it there.
I think I know what you're getting at. And in this file, it is. In other words, this color is governing what's going on out here, and that color is too. So once I change these colors here, it's also applying those colors here. So when I click on it, see what happens? Same logo.
It's recognizing it's linked.
Yeah, it's essentially, these are the swatches for this file. Here, these are the swatches for that file. These are two separate files, and that's the whole point. When you do something like this, you want to make a spot color version, which you save, and you want to make a process version, which you want to save. Now, so I don't get myself all confused here, I'm going to close my Pantone process color, and goodbye. So now the only thing I have here, I'm sorry, my Pantone, my Aqua Logo process is the one that's open. This is the one that we're going to be working with tonight. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do to show you know what you're doing is you're going to go in and you're going to create your logo, and your logo is going to be converted from Pantone color into process color. Okay, that's the first thing that you're going to do. Okay.
All right.
All right. Now, let me show you something else. Let me come in here and find my layers. Here we go. Okay. I have this layer here. There's my layer. So if I hide that layer, you can see what the logo looks like. This is what the logo looks like against white. And it looks really good against white, doesn't it? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can see it looks really nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. How about black? Does it look good against black?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks really good. Yeah.
It looks nice against black, right? It stands off in bold relief. So we don't have a problem with this logo when we're using it against a white background or a black background. But I want to show you something. See that color right there?
Mm-hmm.
This is also a Pantone color. Now, this color is the actual color that this logo is going to be in front of in my brochure. And I'll show you that in a minute. This color came from a swatch that I made up from the color on my brochure. And again, this logo will be sitting in front of that color. So if I go to my layers palette and if I click to select that, okay, and then I click on that color, what do you think?
Yeah,
What do you think of that?
Awful.
It
Yeah.
does. It looks terrible, doesn't it? Okay. So part
Can you change
of my,
it now? It's hurting my eyes.
so part of my process tonight is I want to show you a couple of really cool tricks, things that you can do very creatively that are incredibly easy to do. And there are literally thousands of these tricks. There are probably maybe 100 or so that I don't even know, because I mean, you can't know everything. But I have two particular tricks that I want to show you that I think you'll find really interesting when working with these colors. The first thing is I want to dress up that word aqua. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my layers palette again, and I'm going to hide the background. So the first thing I want to do here is I want to create a gradient look on the word aqua, just to dress this up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the window menu, and I'm going to open up gradient, okay? And I'm going to apply the gradient. Oops, I got to select it first. Apply the gradient, and I get that gradient looking like that. And I don't know how much you know about the gradient panel, but we have different types. We have linear and radial. I'm going to leave this set to linear. And we have an angle. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to come around and I'm going to select 90. So I have my gradient going from the top down, and I'm going to probably extend this a little bit. How's that? Yeah, that looks pretty good. But the problem is I don't want this to be a grayscale gradient. I would like this to be a blue gradient. So let me show you how I would do this. And this is something that I'm showing you. I don't have to do this because I'm in process. I could do this any way I want. But I really am doing it this way because I want to show you how you would do this if you were going to do this in Pantone color. Okay? So think about this as being done because of Pantone color. Okay?
Okay.
I know it's a little tricky, but just bear with me. I'm going to take this color right here, which is the color that I'm using for my text. And I'm going to click on it. And I'm going to drag it and drop it on top of the black part of my color bar. And it goes blue. Looks pretty cool, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the same blue, and I'm going to drag it, and I'm going to drop it over top of the white. So now what I have is blue again, don't I? Look at that. There's no gradient, is there?
No.
Okay, but guess what? I have right here what's known as opacity. And if I click on this one here, see the one selected?
Mm-hmm.
And if I come over here and I drop this down, I can come down and go to, oh, I don't know, let's see if 30 looks good. There you go, look at that. So what I've done essentially is take a look at the bar across here. Can you see how you don't see the little gray pattern in the background here?
Yeah.
Okay, that means that this is completely opaque. The color is 100% opaque. The reason that you're seeing that little gray and white pattern there is because I have used what's known as transparency. So I have a transparency level here of 30%. And when I deselect this, I get this wonderful gradient look. And what's nice about this is if this, and it is not, if this was in spot color or Pantone color, this gradient would work perfectly because I'm using the same color and I'm using transparency to create that gradient. Okay?
Yeah.
What do you think of that? Do you like that trick?
Yeah.
Did you know that? Did any of you know this going in?
I know how to move the color to the gradient.
Okay. Okay, but did you know the trick about working with the angle and, of course, working with the transparency to get this look?
Yes.
The angle I didn't know about. The transparency I did.
The opacity you know about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so now I have a nice logo that looks, in my opinion, even nicer than it looked a few minutes ago. But I still have this problem. Let me go back to my layers and let me bring my blue layer back, and I still have this problem where the logo
Yeah.
is
In fact,
simply
it's a
doesn't.
bit worse now.
Yeah, it looks terrible. Okay, but I want this to happen because I want to show you another trick that I think you're going to find really interesting, and that is how to set this logo off of the background in a way that dresses it up and yet makes it work. And it's a really easy way to go. I'm not saying that this is the only way to go. There are many ways that you could do this, but this is one way, and it's what I think you'll find very useful as a trick. So I'm going to start off by locking layer 2. The layer 2 obviously is the layer that's got the blue on it. All right. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I happen to know that this logo is going to be used against this blue, and you just don't get enough of a differentiation between the two. So with that layer locked, okay, it's got to be in the layers palette to do this. I lock this. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select all of my objects. They're all selected, okay? And that's called marqueeing. You know marqueeing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to go edit copy, and I'm going to go edit paste in back. So what did I do? Anybody know?
You put another copy of it right behind itself, so it's on top of each other.
That's exactly right. So what I now have is actually 2 of each of those elements. Now, when you go paste in back, this thing stays selected, but let me explain what really happens. The one in front gets deselected. The one that you pasted in the back now is selected, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to find my swatches, and I'm going to make sure that my fill is forward. You see my fill over here?
Mm-hmm.
And it's forward. I'm going to click white. And can you see that you're beginning to see something a little bit better here now? See how the white is affecting this? And you can see the transparency taking place. And now you're beginning to see that maybe you can make this logo work a little bit. But we're not quite there yet. We still need to do something to make this logo stand off of the background. I have another trick that I want to show you that I think you're going to find really cool. But can you already see what's happening? Can you see now that the transparency is allowing that white to show through, the element that's behind it show through?
Yeah.
You know what's going on. Good. I'm going to go to the object menu, and I'm going to go down the path, and I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to choose offset path. Okay? So it's object, path, offset path. And I select it, and I get the offset path dialog box. Now, what the offset path dialog box is going to do is it's going to allow me to offset the path, either positively or negatively. What I'm going to do is I'm going to offset it positively. And what that's going to do essentially is it's going to create what sort of looks like an outline or a break area. Now, remember, everything in the background is white. And the only white that you're really seeing is in the transparent areas of the logo, right? But in a second, you're going to see more. So I'm going to now come in here, and here's the offset measurements. Now they have this set to centimeters. I'd have to change this in preferences. But for now, I know I'm going to work with points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to type in 3. Actually pixels, PX, 3 pixels. And I'm going to, the joints I'm going to say is miter round. I'm going to hit try round and see what that looks like. And so it's going to be, it's converted it to 1.58 centimeters. And let's hit preview and let's see what it looks like. Not bad, huh? Maybe a little bit too much. So I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to make it 2 pixels. And there you go. And I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to deselect it. Take a look at that. What do you think?
Nice.
Kind of nice. Pretty cool.
The question
So
is,
the bottom one that was selected?
Number one, does it now stand off the background?
Yes.
Does it read well?
Yes.
Does it look tastefully done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is all it takes for you. And again, this is something that you guys can do with the logo, because in a way you're not really destroying the logo. You're not really distorting it. You're just making the logo usable in an environment where it might not be usable. And all it does really require is one simple little step, actually 2. You're going to copy and paste the element behind it, and then you're going to change its color to, say, white in this particular case. And then what you're going to do is you're going to offset the path and change the mitering to round corners, and you'll end up getting something that looks actually very tasteful. Okay? Now remember, this logo, as I told you, I can make that logo any kind of coloration that I want. probably the logical thing to do is what I did, though, which would be to select this thing and then come in here and use blue in the same blue and then just go with the opacity on that particular one, maybe to 30 or something like that. Because more than likely, these colors would be picked by the corporate entity that you're working for, and they would not want you to mess around with the colors other than perhaps maybe doing something like this, like a gradient. And I would also make sure that they're okay with this when you do it, because they might not even want you doing that.
Right.
Right? But I'm saying you can. It's the kind of thing that a graphic designer would, if I was in a situation like this, and they said, no, that's not going to work, we can't go with the gradient, fine. You know what you do? You just click on that, and you come up here, and you click on that. And now you're back within the scope of the color range that is a corporate color. You don't have any problems with any of this. And this white outline here does nothing to hurt or change the context of the logo. Really, all it does is to help define it and make it stand out against the background where, you know, if you have this background and you did it without this white outline, you'd not be able to see the logo. Okay? Any questions? I went Control-Z because I kind of like the gradient, and I brought the gradient back. Any questions about this or anything you want to ask me about it? You okay?
Not that I can think of.
Huh?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is go back to my layers palette, and I'm going to hide this. So right away, or actually before I do that, you know what? No, I better hide it. Actually, I think I better get rid of this layer. I'm going to get rid of this layer because I think it's going to impact my, I think it's going to impact my selection. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to hit delete. And yes, there it goes. Okay, so now what I want to do, if you remember, when you're ready to create your logo, the final version of your logo, which will either be an EPS, and again, this will still be an EPS, or a PDF, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my artboards. Remember, I did this last time. And I'm going to click here, drop-down menu, and I'm going to go to Artboard Options. And when I get my Artboard Options, I'm going to come over to my presets. I'm going to drop it down, Fit to Artwork Bounds. And then I'm going to hit OK. Okay, now the reason that I did this now is because, yeah, see the offset there? If I had done this before the offset, then the offset would not be on the page, and I'd have to go back and adjust it again. And this way, it fits to the offset. Okay? You can see it when I sit on top of it, what's going on with this. So from a production standpoint, do you see where I'm going with this? Do you see what I'm trying to show you? I'm trying to show you things which really relate to the production techniques involved in creating art, simple art, or modifying simple art to use the art in the kind of applications that you're going to be using it in. And in the case of this particular logo, we're going to be taking it into a process environment, and we're going to be using it into a tri-fold brochure. So I'm trying to show you something, and I also happen to know from a creative standpoint that the background that this is going to be sitting in front of is going to be kind of a funky blue color, and it's going to interfere with the logo. So I'm trying to come up with a method that will enable me to keep this thing separate from its background. So I'm thinking about stuff as I work so that I have a piece that will work correctly when I actually get into the project itself. All right? So the last thing that I got to do here is go File, Save As. And once again, I'm in the Tonight folder. And you see what I've done so far. I've got my Aqua Logo Pantone, Aqua Logo Process. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to drop it down, and I'm going to call this an EPS. So I'm just going to remove the process. I don't need the process on this anymore. In this particular case, I'm just going to call it, you know what? Actually, I'm going to not do that. Let's go Control-Z, and let's leave that. I think I'm going to leave the process there. So it's going to stay Aqua Logo Process, but this is now going to be an EPS. And I'm going to hit Save. And I get my EPS options. I'm going to leave it as CS6, the TIFF 8-bit color. I'm going to leave that. Remember, transparency, want to verify that it is transparent. And it is. The rest of this you can leave. You don't have to embed the fonts because there are no fonts in there at this point. and I'm going to hit OK. And now it writes the EPS format. Okay? And if I bring this down for a second and I come over to tonight, you can see in here I have my 2 Adobe Illustrator files and I have my EPS that I just created. Okay? So whether you do these 2 steps or not in this particular exercise is totally up to you. But the bottom line is you definitely do want to create an Aqua logo process. And just for the heck of it, just so I can say I did it, and go back to here, go File, Save As, and this time it's going to be Aqua logo process. Instead of an EPS, we're going to do the PDF version, because I think I told you last week, PDF works exactly the same way as EPS. So it's okay for you to use either the PDF or the EPS when you're working with vector art going into a program like Adobe InDesign, okay? So it's going to be Aqua logo process PDF, hit save, and I'm going to change the Adobe PDF preset from Illustrator default. I want to bring this down to press quality, and I think I did mention to you that high quality print is for when you're working with like digital printing, high speed color copier. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Not completely, but okay.
Well, there are 3 different settings in here. There's high quality print, press quality, Illustrator default, and smallest file size. Illustrator default and small file size, they're smaller files. You could use them for web, although actually I don't even think web accepts PDF. So press quality is when you're going to go into an environment like a 4-color process printing environment, not Illustrator default. That's not high enough quality. This is also high quality print is also not high enough quality. So all I'm saying to you is that when you're going to go into a high-end printing environment, you have to know to come up to Adobe PDF presets and click on this and come down and choose press quality. Look, use these settings to create Adobe PDF document best suited for high quality pre-press printing. Create PDF documents can be opened with Acrobat or Acrobat Reader 5.0 or later. So it tells you right here, the description tells you what it's all about. So let me quickly come back here and go to high quality print. Use these settings to create Adobe PDF documents for quality printing on desktop printers or proofers. See what I'm saying? It actually tells you right there what it's all about. So you don't want to, this is not going to be done on a desktop printer or a proofer. It is going to be done in a high-end press quality environment. So you want press quality, okay?
Okay.
Now, as far as the standards and compatibility, I told you earlier that there was a printer that I spoke to who wanted PDF, Acrobat 5. He wanted CS5. So this is set up for Acrobat 5. We could leave that alone. That's perfectly fine. The standards, if you're asked to put a certain standard in by the printer, this is where you would do it. But for now, it's defaulting to none, and we're going to leave it that way. The only other thing that you have to worry about here is we don't need to optimize this for fast web view, but I'm going to leave it because it doesn't really hurt anything. And preserve Illustrator editing capabilities. The only reason that you would leave this is for me. Okay, leave it so that it's editable. Otherwise, you could remove this and it would become not editable. It would basically kind of flatten it out and you couldn't separate it like vector objects. But by leaving preserve Illustrator editing capabilities, what do you think it's telling you? What is Illustrator? It's a bitmap, or it's a vector program. So if it's making it so that it is editable within Illustrator, that means that somehow or other it's keeping it as a vector, right? Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what you want to do. Now, the only other thing you have to worry about here are marks and bleeds, but you're not going to be using marks and bleeds for this because this is part of another piece or part of another production. So you don't want marks or bleeds on this. So you're going to leave this. This is the settings that you want. Press quality and leave everything else basically the way it is and save PDF. It's writing it. And if I come down here, there's my Aqua logo process, and I have my folder tonight with the 4 files that I've created so far. Are we good? No questions?
No questions.
All right. So more or less we are done with the logo part of this project for now. I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to jump into Adobe InDesign. Now, how do you guys feel about Adobe InDesign? Are you guys okay with this program?
Decent comfort level.
Decent comfort level?
I know there's more that we can figure out, but I can get stuff done with it.
Okay. So basically all you're going to be doing in here tonight is, or in this project is, you're going to be using the template that I gave you. I would recommend that you use the template. And what you're going to be doing is, there should have been with that template another folder where there's some images. And some of the images that are in there have deliberately not been converted to CMYK. And the reason that I did that was so that you could actually see how to go in and convert the file and what it takes to do that. And where you might see that happen is when you package this. And I'm going to show you how to package this next week, because that's going to be something that you're going to be doing for next week's assignment. You're going to be actually going through the process of checking this entire piece that you create and packaging it and sending it to me along with a finalized PDF for printing. So that's next week.
You do not want us fixing that this time.
Huh?
You do not want us fixing them to see.
No, what I want you to do tonight, what I want you to do this week is I want you to build your brochure. Now, I'm showing you one that I made. You don't have to make yours look like mine at all. You can make yours look any way you want. I'm just going to show you, and I probably won't build the entire thing tonight. I'm going to probably show you, some of it, because I also want to show you how to export it. And I want to talk to you about how I go through some of the process here. So I may or may not build the whole thing tonight. We'll see how it goes. But I want you to go in and I want you to create your own unique Dive Adventures brochure. And I've tried to give you all the elements that I think that you'll need. I've given you a number of photos. See, I had to be careful because I can only give so many photos without the zip folder not being able to transfer from me to the site and then back to you. So I had to be careful. I couldn't just give you tons and tons and tons of photo. I gave you photos that I could, as many as I could. And most of this is stuff that you can actually go in and create on your own, and I'll show you how to do that shortly. So this is what I'm saying. If you want to make yours look like mine, fine. I don't really care. It isn't going to hurt me if you do. If you decide though that you want to make something completely different, fine. Just do me one favor, and that is respect the logo. Remember, the logo is part of the corporate identity. And try to make the logo look like the colors that you pick. If you want to put a gradient in it like I did, fine. If you don't want to put a gradient in it, fine. That's okay. Think about where the logo is going to be placed. And will I need to place it against a color background, sort of like what I did? Or will it sit where I put it without that color background? I'm just trying to give you a way of thinking when you start working with this. Okay? Are we good? Ask a question if you have to. Go right ahead. I mean, it's fine. That's why I got your mics on.
My noise was accidentally turning off the mute before I was done coughing.
I'm sorry. Say that again. What happened?
I'm muting because I have a cold. And I go into coughing fits. I unmuted too soon.
Okay. Okay. All right. So basically, do you guys know what a tri-fold brochure is?
Yes.
This is a tri-fold brochure. And if you take a look at it, generally speaking, what you have is you have three. This is the outside of the tri-fold brochure. This would be the front panel. This would be the first panel that you would see. And this would be the back panel, and this would fold inside and under this panel right here. So the first thing that you would see is this and this. If you flip it while it's folded, you'd see the front and the back. Once you start pulling the front panel back, you would see that panel right there first. Okay?
And whatever's opposite of the cover.
Well, I'm going to actually, let me go, I'm trying to get to my pages, and I'll show you the inside spread. There's the inside spread. So in effect, what happens is you have this panel on the inside. When it's fully opened, this will be the first panel, or the panel that's on the left. This will be the middle panel, and this will be the right panel. So this will, you'll once you fold that inner panel over, this panel will be folded. You'll see this, and then you fold it out, and you'll see the entire inside spread. But you got to remember something. Now, I did actually run a few lines of text across the panel, but notice that the basic body copy, I did not. And I've allowed plenty of clearance so that the copy doesn't get too close to the folds. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Yes.
Margins.
Yeah. Okay, so these are the things that I want to first start off by pointing out to you. Always make sure that you have plenty of clean margin space. Now, the turtle bleeds off of the page, all right? The turtle is meant to bleed off the page. This photo bleeds off the page. And we'll talk more about that in a minute when I actually start putting some of these elements into the page itself. Inside here, I have one large image that runs pretty much across the entire spread, a background image. And then I have this this diver who's also part of my scheme, all right? And then I have this big photo over here and a small inset photo, and I have some copy, all right? So that's basically it. And the copy, as a matter of fact, you can use the copy. You can make your own copy up if you want. I also supplied, along with the elements that go into creating this tri-fold brochure, I also submitted to you a page of copy material that you can cut and paste from. I'm going to open mine up and show it to you in a minute. And then, of course, I gave you the template. There's the template. Okay, so have you guys looked at this template yet?
No, but
No.
now we see it.
Okay, but have you guys downloaded it?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of you, I think maybe it was you, Adam, said that you actually built one.
I did.
Okay, does it look like mine?
No,
Okay.
I followed the instructions that was on the YouTube videos from the thing.
And how is it different? Roughly, quickly.
You have an extra bit of space outside of the bleed area.
You mean here?
Yeah,
It's a gutter.
right.
Yeah.
It
I'm
didn't
going to
include the
show you.
gutter.
I'm going to show you how to set this page up. That's one of the things I want to show you, because you got to know how to do that. And I get a sense that not everybody in here is a master of Adobe InDesign. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think one of the first things that I want to do is I want to show you a little bit about how I build this page. And I may not build the whole thing, but I will show you a little bit about it. Oh, and by the way, Adam, you said that you looked at the video, how to do this. Was that video clear?
Actually, Alicia did.
Yeah, I
Oh, was
haven't
Alicia?
said anything.
Who was the one that looked at the video on how to create this?
Alicia.
Okay, how was it? Was it clear?
Yeah,
Yeah? Would you be able to do it after looking at the video?
I did it after looking at the video.
Okay, and it went okay?
Yeah, just she didn't have the gutter when she was describing it.
All right. All right. Well, I'm going to show you how to do that. What I want to do here very quickly is I want to show you a little bit about how to begin the process of putting this document together. Okay? So, and then I'm going to quit because I'm not going to build the whole thing. I'm going to show you most of it. And then I'm going to jump into starting to put the elements on the page. And then I'm going to end up with going back to this final right here. And I'm going to export the final. And you will see what happens when I create my final piece, which is what you'll be sending me. Okay? So here is my template. That's what we're going to use to build. But I'm going to go first, File, New, Document. Okay? So you see where I am? File, New Document. And I get the New Document dialog box. Okay? there are different types of intentions that you could use here. For instance, you can use a print, a web, or a digital publishing, just so that you know what the difference would be. When you're working with print, more than likely you're working with paper. So you're going to be working on something that's going to be printing on paper. Web, you're going to be working on something which will be utilized as perhaps a web page, which, believe it or not, you can actually build a web page in this program. I don't really recommend that you do that, but you can do it. And that's why they have that intent of web. And then digital publishing. You guys know what digital publishing is, essentially? Digital publishing is when you're working with something that might be for printing on a, or printing and viewed on a Kindle, something that might be PDF.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to go with print, and I can come here and I don't have a preset made. I actually do, but apparently I didn't save it on here, because I'll actually save you one. Now, I got a number of pages here. You're going to have 2 pages. Normally, you see that where it says facing pages? See that right there? Normally, when you open this up, that's checked. The reason that this isn't checked is because one of the things that I did when I built my file was I unchecked it. So it has kind of a memory, and it remembers that it's unchecked. Facing pages, when we're talking about facing pages, we're talking about folded booklets. In last week's assessment, they talked about signatures. Remember what they talked about signatures? And what are signatures? A number of pages that are folded together, stapled into a booklet form.
Yeah, kind of like an origami booklet.
Yeah, or an origami booklet. Well, anyway, when you're dealing with those booklet forms like that, you're dealing with facing pages. But we're not going to be dealing with facing pages. We're going to be dealing with a page that's printing on the front side and the back side. So in order to get that to happen, we're going to remove facing pages. And we're going to make the number of pages 2. That means that there's going to be a front page and a back page, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so assuming that we're going to go with a standard letter size, we can go with any of these sizes that we want. I'm just going to stay with a letter size. The letter size. And I'm going to go with my orientation, which is going to be landscape. Okay, now you guys know what the difference between portrait and landscape is. When they say portrait, that means that the height is longer than the width. So the page normally is 8.5 by 11, right? Regular letterhead, 8.5 by 11?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you're going to be talking about portrait, that means that it's 11 high by 8.5 wide. Landscape is when it's laid on its side, essentially, and it is 11 wide by 8.5 high. So that's the difference, and it's called portrait or landscape. The number of columns, we're going to keep the number of columns as 1, because I won't be able to get the unequal columns that I need in here. So I'm going to just leave it as 1, and I'm going to have to create these columns myself by hand. Okay? I don't need a gutter, so I'm going to put the gutter in as 0. So it's going to be 1 big column, and it's going to be...
Oh, yeah, that's a lot different than they showed on the video.
You know, I'm just doing it the way I would do it.
Yep.
Okay? I'm just doing it the way I would do it. All right. And what did they do? Well, it'd be too difficult for you to explain, so we won't bother. All right. So margins. What's margins? Margins are areas that you want to stay away from. So in other words, if you take a look at my finished board over here, see the black line right there?
Yeah.
The edge of the paper.
That black line represents where this page is going to cut out of the bigger piece of paper. That's what that means. That red line right there indicates where the bleed is going to be, and we'll talk about that in a minute. That purpley line is kind of what the margin is, and what that tells you is that there's a certain amount of space from where you want your elements to stop moving into to the edge. So you don't want any of your elements, unless it's going to bleed, to be in that area right there. So you're going to put margins all around this, okay? And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put a margin of, oh, I don't know, let's say what that is. Looks like it's about 0.5. 0.5 IN. And if I click in the next one, since that's linked, see the little link, make all the settings the same? Once I click in there, it converts it to 3.0 all the way around, which is what it's converted to from 0.5 inches. And where I got 0.5 inches is a half of an inch converts to 0.5 inches, okay? So that's my margin. Now I have the bleed and the slug. The bleed is that little red line right there. Generally speaking, bleed is always the same number, 0.125 IN. 0.125 IN equals 1/8 of an inch. So generally speaking, what you need is 1/8 of an inch bleed all around, unless your printer tells you something different, okay? And slug is that area outside here. That blue line represents the slug. And what I'm going to put in for the slug is 0.75. 0.75 IN, which essentially equals, and check it, this is not checked, make all settings the same. I'm going to click that, and it's going to make it all the same. What slug does basically is it gives you a little bit of an area outside here that you can put things maybe to the printer. It's just a little bit of extra space around the outside of that. Okay? Any questions about that?
reminding you which page is which.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Handy for saying which one's the cover, which one's the back, which one's the inside folds, etc.
The first page generally would be your outside, and the second
The
page.
slug is a good place to put that info.
Where?
In that slug area.
Oh, yeah. See what I have up here? Look, outside, fold, and fold. See where I did this? And then I have inside, fold, and fold. So, yeah. So if I have that slug area, I have the ability to get that stuff printing out in there. I also have crop marks up here. But guess what? You can actually have the actual program create the crop marks. What it cannot do, and this is important for you to understand, it cannot give you these crop marks for your panels. You have to create them yourself. So what I generally do is I generally create all of my crop marks because I can't get these crop marks, these fold marks. I have to make them myself, okay? One of the reasons that I'm giving you this template is so that you don't have to go nuts trying to make this thing correct. I just figured that by me giving you the template, I'd save you a little bit of time and effort, and you could focus on creating a nice three-fold brochure with all the elements in the proper place. And I also want to remind you that I'm telling you that, I mean, almost anytime you are doing something like this, you're going to be working with a printer, and the chances are that the printer will have a template that he will be happy to let you work with. All you have to do is ask him. So it's really kind of important that you remember to do that. All right?
Yeah.
Any questions?
No.
All right. One more thing I want to show you here is once you do all this, how you get a preset is you click this. These are all settings that you've put in by yourself. And what you do is you come here and you click on Save Preset. And then you get the Save Preset dialog box. And all you have to do here is, if you want, type in what the preset is for. And I'm going to put in Tri-_FOLD, Tri-fld. I'm just using that as a name. And I hit OK. And now look, my document preset turns to Tri-fld. If I drop this down, there's my default. I'm not going to choose it because the settings are set such that I now have my Tri-fld with those settings. Okay? That makes sense? Now, watch what happens when I click OK. There you go. View, zoom out. And let me zoom out again. There we go. Actually, you know what? View, fit all in window. Fit spread in window. Oh, no. View, entire pasteboard. There we go. I want to I'm trying to show you both of them is what I'm trying to do here. Trying to get to where I can show you both of them. I'm really not Let's go view, zoom out again, see if I can get, there we go. Now that's what it is. So you see what I have here is just like I have here, where's my other one? The template document. There it is, there's the scuba blue. I'm sorry, untitled, there it is. And if you take a look at the template document, the only thing that's missing here are my panels and the little bit of text that's up here and my my crop marks.
How do you get rid of all the excess white on the left and right?
You don't have to worry about that. It's not, it doesn't have, it's not going to bother you. Just don't worry about it. Has nothing to do with this. Okay? So
it will
really,
not affect the grade. It may bother us. It may not affect the grade.
don't let it bother you. It's not going to hurt anything. I mean, it's just ultimately extra space, and you can use it or not. You can store things on the side if you want. In the end, when you go to print this out, the PDF and the packaging will take care of all that. You won't see any of it. You know, you'll see what I mean later on. So I want you to notice that I have my
Slug.
Yeah, my slug area is the blue line, and it's all the way around. I still have my little red line, which is my
Bleed.
exactly. The black line, do you remember what the black line is?
Page.
That's right. And then that is?
Margins.
There you go. And it really does look pretty much like the template document, except for the little things like the crop marks out here, which I would create or you would create. And then what you have to do is you have to measure the width. Now, let me tell you something here. The front panel and the back panel are slightly bigger than the inset panel because these two fold in half. This folds and goes inside of the front and the back. This folds in. So it has to be, this panel from here to here has to be a little bit smaller than this and this. So these two are the same size, and both of them are a little bit bigger than that one. Very small amount, but a little bit bigger. I don't know whether they explained that very well to you in the video that you saw. Did they explain to you about that? How the two?
Nope, they didn't cover that at all.
They didn't. Okay. Well, one of the reasons that I wanted to use this template is because I've actually done all this for you, and this template probably is exactly right. Let me just quickly show you what I'm talking about here. I get this rectangular, I'm going to create a frame that goes from that line right there over to the edge of the page, and I'm going to make it black. Now watch, check this out. So there's my panel. See that panel, the width of that panel? If I click on this and if I just drag this over to that panel, can you see that that is the same size as that panel?
Yep.
Okay, now watch what happens now. Click on this and drag this over, and look at that. What happens?
So is that what, about the size of the bleed over?
Not even, just enough, just a touch. Look, see it?
Okay.
Yeah.
So about half the bleed.
But it's there. That's the point. That's the point. The point is that it's there. This was done so that when I fold this thing up, this panel will neatly fold inside those two panels. That's the point.
Crinkle.
So what I'm getting at is, and again, just so that you know, you watched the video, it didn't properly explain that in the video. I'm trying to show you, I'm trying to teach you this, and I'm also trying to let you know that you can avoid the issue altogether by simply talking to your printer and asking your printer if he would have any giving you a template, which I would be willing to bet you that he'd be more than happy to do. Okay? So any questions about this? When you get inside, it's not the same issue. You're still going to have the panels divided, but it's not as issue. The outside is the issue. That's really where the issue falls into play. All right, so I guess I'm done with the untitled one. Close that up. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to start putting together a little bit of this brochure, and I'll show you a little bit about how I arrive at this. Check this out. I have none, I have registration, I have paper, I have black, and I got several Pantone colors in here, okay? And the fact is that these Pantone colors are, in fact, check it out. I just wanted to show you. See that color right there? See that little indicia right there? That's a spot color. So watch what happens when I come into my template document. All right, now let me zoom this thing out. Zoom out. There we go. Okay, now you can see this pretty well. All right, so the first thing that I want to do here is I want to build my cover. So this is the cover. This is the front cover over here. Whenever you're working in this program, you have to work with boxes, rectangular frames. And there are your two frames. You also have the type tool, which will create frames or boxes. So what I like to do generally is, see the box that has the X in it? See that? Rectangular frame tool with the X? That's
Yes.
the tool that I generally like to use. Now, I'm going to create a cover. Now, watch what I do here. I'm up outside on my bleed area, and I'm sitting right over top of the fold. See the fold? You can tell the fold, that's that blue line that leads up to that line right there is where it's going to fold. So I'm going to hit the fold, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag all the way down to the bottom and all the way over until it's bleeding. Now check this out. My box lands on the fold, on the bleed, on the bleed, and on the bleed. Okay? So what's going to happen is the artwork, whatever I put in here, is going to stop right on the fold. It is going to bleed off the right-hand side, the top and the bottom. Okay? That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go File, and this is now selected. I'm going to go File, Place, and I'm going to go into my, since I don't have it in my Tonight folder, Print Color. I'm going to come into week 3. Let me have a second here. Week 3. And I'm going to find my Aqua Scuba Blue Final Brochure. Okay, no, wrong one. Hold on, let me find it. There we go. And images, here we go. Okay, and these are my images, and I'm looking for my Diver 1. There he is, Diver 1. Actually, there's Diver 1 and there's Diver 1. This is a, what is that one? This is a PDF. This one is a TIFF. Yeah, that's the one that I want. Either one of these would do. You should have images like these because I should have sent you those images as well, right? Guys recognize these images from anything I showed you or sent you?
Yeah, and you're wanting us to use these, or are these just being provided in case we want?
What I'm actually saying to you is that you can build yours to look as much like mine as you want, or you could make yours not like mine at all. You can go any way that you want to go. You can get your own pictures, but I do caution you that if you get pictures off the web, the image resolution is not going to be very good. So what's going to end up happening is your piece is not going to look very good. So it's up to you. I've given you some images. I've tried to give you enough images that you could do it. You could make it look like mine, or you could go in another direction. It's totally up to you. I've only got, right now it's 9:02. I have until 9:45 to show you a little bit about how to put this together and make sure that you're comfortable with some of the processes involved. And then what I want to do before we end tonight is I want to export this whole thing to show you how to send it to me using the proper method in Adobe PDF, which we actually did something very much like this last week when we exported in PDF the business card that you guys did. And I want to say this to you. I think most of you who did submit your work, most of you did a pretty good job. There were a couple of people that did not correctly fix the colors, and there were a couple of people that actually did not get the proper crop marks and bleed indicated, but generally speaking, all of you guys did a pretty good job with it. And I just want to point out that you're going to find that the techniques are similar that we're going to be using to create this tri-fold brochure. So it's not something that each individual job will be completely different. Sure, there'll be differences, but the bottom line is many of the techniques will be very similar in all of the pieces that you produce. So once you learn this stuff, you're probably pretty much good to go. But there's a lot of people that don't know how to do this, and it is an essential part of your skill as a graphic designer to know how to go in and do this. Okay?
Yep.
All right. I'm going to choose the diver, and I'm going to hit open. And the diver comes in, and I don't know whether you know this or not, but if you come in here, you can click on this and see how there's two ways you can click on this. Let me show you. You can click on this and you can get the image, or you can click on this and you can get the box. See the box? Now watch when I click on this. See in the center here, that little circular thing? When I click on this, you see the brown line here? Somebody's in there dying.
Sorry.
I'm going to shift this over. The image is actually larger than the panel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the diver over something like this. So I'm going to lose a little bit of his feet here, which I don't have a problem with. I could probably move him over just a little bit. But remember what I told you. You don't want, when you have something like the head of a diver like this, you don't want to cut the diver's head off. So you want to make sure that there's plenty of clearance here where you're going to be trimming this. See where his head is and see where his elements are? I got some clearance here. See what I'm getting at? That's what you want to be aware of, all right? And that's probably pretty good. So there I have a picture of my diver. The diver is going to be bleeding off the top, off the right, and off the bottom, and it's going to catch right on the fold line, all right? Everybody cool?
Yep.
All right. What I'm going to do next is, let's see if I can find my swatches here. Here's my swatches. Okay, so here's my swatches. I have these colors in here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete those colors, get these colors out of here. Okay, now I have nothing but none, registration, paper, and black. And you know, it's the same basic thing that you can do when you are working in Adobe Illustrator. When you're working in a project like this, you probably don't want to have colors in your swatches panel that don't relate to the project that you're working on. So none, that does relate. Registration does relate. White will relate and does. And black does. So I would leave them alone. Other than that, though, what I would do is I would remove all the colors and I would now build my own colors. Now, I want to show you what happens when I come and get my logo and put my logo in here. The logo is going to first off appear on the front panel. So I'm going to go File, Place, and I'm going to go to my desktop this time because I'm going to use one of my new logos that I just did. And I'm going to pick for tonight, I can either pick, as I told you, the Aqua Logo Process PDF or the Aqua Logo Process EPS. I don't want to use these AI logos. Let me explain why. I actually could, if I wanted to, I could use the Aqua Logo Process AI file. The only problem is then the printer might have to do some work on it to modify it. So I don't want to use that. I'm going to choose the Aqua Logo Process EPS. And I'm going to hit Open. And now I'm going to click and I'm going to drag a box out. Oh, something like that. And there I have my logo placed in. There's my logo. Okay? Now, it looks pretty terrible, doesn't it? What do you think? Looks awful? But watch this. Is everybody here?
Yeah.
Okay, I wondered because
Yes.
suddenly it got very quiet and I thought, oh, tell me we're losing our sound here. So
No, I'm just muting because I'm outside.
okay, here's the thing. There are different ways that we can view this. And one of the things that I want to show you here with this logo selected, I'm going to come up to the View menu, and I'm going to show you that you can come in and you can use either Fast Display, Typical Display. Typical Display, if you check, there's a check mark. Typical Display is what this is. And if you hit on High Quality Display, just watch the logo when I let go of this. Boom, see that? Comes up and makes the logo look really beautiful, doesn't it? So there you go. Now we have two of our elements. We have our cover art, we have our aqua logo. And then, of course, you know, you can just keep adjusting this until you get it where you want it. And the last thing that I have to do for my cover, let's go to the final, is Dive Adventures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab my text tool and I'm going to come over here and click and drag to create a box. There, so I've got a box and I'm going to type in Dive, D-I-V-E, A-D-V-E-N-T-U-R-E-S, Dive Adventures. Select it. I am going to choose Myriad, M-Y-R-I-A-D. Let's go to Myriad Pro. I'm choosing Myriad Pro simply because I like the font, and there's a lot of different fonts faces right there. See, I got condensed, condensed, italic, bold, condensed, and all these others. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try semi-bold. No, I guess I got to go to bold. Let's go to bold. Yeah. And I'm going to come up to try 24. Let's go 28. Let's try 28. And it's too big at 28. So I'm going to go Control Z and I'll make it 26. Let's try 26. And that's probably pretty good. The only other thing that I'm going to want to do here now is I'm going to select it and I'm going to change its color from black to paper. Paper in Adobe InDesign, paper is the equivalent of white. All right, and then I'm just going to move this thing up, and I don't know, I could possibly click on that thing and
Question.
this. What?
Question.
Yeah.
If you're printing on colored paper, is it basically a do not print here? So if we were printing on yellow paper, it'd be yellow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you never print with white unless you use white as a fifth color. Does that make sense to you? White is essentially a knockout. So when you see this logo here, what you're actually seeing is you're actually seeing paper where it's knocking out. It's going to be a knockout. That white area will all be a knockout. So will that text. Okay?
Okay.
All right. All right. So the other thing that I kind of like to do here is I will, with this Dive Adventures box selected, I'll come to the Object menu and I'll go to Fitting, Fit Frame to Content. And what I did essentially was I made the box fit the text perfectly. And now what I think I'm going to try to do is I'm going to click on that logo and I've shift clicked, so I got both of these selected. And I'm going to go to the Align Horizontal Centers and click. And you just see that type shift over ever so slightly? And now I have my text aligned to one another. And I think it probably is pretty good. It could possibly go over just a touch, make it visually center. That's probably pretty good. Then it's up to you where you want this Dive Adventure. You want it to go down, you know, you arrow it down wherever you want it, okay? But the bottom line is now I have my front of my piece completely built, all right? Not difficult. It's really just a matter of having a picture, creating a box, putting the picture into the box and positioning it where you want, grabbing your logo and placing your logo the size that you want and the positioning that you want in another box, and then create a box using your text and put your text into place. So that's really all it is in terms of doing this. In a way, it's kind of similar to what you do in Adobe Illustrator, except the difference here is you are creating a layout, a complex layout that includes text, graphic elements like your logo here, and pictures, images, okay? So are we fairly clear with this process so far?
Yep.
All right, so let me show you something really cool. What I want to do is I want to color the outside of the rest of my piece, a nice solid blue color. Going to grab my rectangular frame tool here. I guess I'll grab that one. And I'm going to come over to my bleeds, and I'm going to come down to my bottom bleed, and I'm going to drag this thing all the way over until I hit my fold line again. And look at that, I actually end up with a color. Let's knock that back to paper so that you can see something. So I got my box built here, and notice that it bleeds and it bleeds and
It's
it
the first
bleeds.
bottom.
This actually does not bleed. I've got to drag it down. There you go, got it bleeding. And this one literally comes and lays right next to the front cover, okay? So since this is 4-color process, I can come in here and I can grab any color that I want in here and use it over on this panel. All I have to do is come over here and grab my eyedropper tool, and I can sample any color that I want. Where do I want to go? Maybe something like this.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay? And now I've basically created my my full color outside panel, and I can start putting my elements on top of my outside panel. And I'm heading in the direction of this. So let's take a look at this turtle, because that's the next thing that I want to do. I want to put the turtle into this. All right, so how do I do that? Once again, I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to grab my box, and I'm going to come over and drag myself out a box, something like about like that, and go File, Place. Now this time I did this, I have a box selected. So what should happen here is this should put this into my box. So let's go and find my images, and they would be in week 3. Scuba Blue Resources, Images. Let me find my turtle. Where's my turtle? There is my turtle. Okay, now there it is. I'm going to click Open, and boom, there's my turtle. Now you can see, I'm going to get my regular selection tool. You can see that this turtle is huge, right? So I'm going to click on this, and you can see right here. See how big it is? It's pretty big. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key. Whenever you want to constrain an object, you don't want the object to distort from its horizontal and vertical perspective. You click and you drag, holding the Shift key down, and you're going to reduce the size. I'm going to bring this down and reduce the size. I'm going to have to move this guy up now so that he's in the screen, okay, but he's still too big. I want him to be, let's make him smaller. Hold down the Shift key again, start bringing him down, and I want him to be about like that. That's probably a pretty good size. I'm guessing now because again, you'd have to really look and see what I did. Yeah, he's actually a little bit bigger, believe it or not. So I'm going to make him a little bit bigger. Hold down the Shift key and drag him to about there. Okay, now check this out. I have my turtle. Now here's the thing. I'm going to click on my turtle. Let me get the turtle selected, and let me bring him into frame. There, he's into frame completely. All right, but I want him to bleed. So he's got to come over to the bleed line right there. This way, see what's going to happen? He's going to, a little bit of his shell is going to clip off the edge, and a little bit of that leg. But I want that. I want it a little action-y. You know what I mean? Just like this guy here. Notice his feet are cut off a little bit. I like that feeling. It gives it a feeling of action. The same with this. It gives a little dramatic feeling of action. So don't be afraid to do stuff like this. All right? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select this, and I'm going to go Object, Fitting, Fit Frame to Content, and then eventually I'm going to have to adjust the positioning of this. I'm going to bring it up a little bit for now, but I'm going to have to adjust the positioning of this a little bit in the end. So there I have my other element. I just wanted to also tell you something a little bit about this turtle. This turtle is, I also used opacity on this turtle. This turtle is partially opaque. You guys know what transparent objects are, right?
Yep.
Okay, so what I did essentially was the photo of my diver and the photo of my turtle, both of these photos were done in Adobe Photoshop. And what I did was I took a large picture of a turtle, which was just a regular shot, something more like this, and I went in and I very carefully silhouetted him. So he's against a transparent background. And instead of using the color the entire color of the turtle the way he was, I made him partially transparent. I went in and I turned him into a partially transparent turtle on a clear background. So when I placed the turtle in front of this color, the actual color is going to show through the turtle somewhat, where it's partially transparent, and it's going to make the turtle look more like it's actually swimming in this area than it's sitting in front of it. Does that make sense to you guys? Do you understand
Yes.
what I'm going for? These are creative things that you come up with to make your production look nice. All right? Any questions so far? So we've got basically the main elements of our exterior of our card done. Now I'm going to click on this and go edit copy, and then I'm going to go edit paste, and I've pasted my logo onto my back panel, and I'm going to drag the logo up, and again I'm going to roughly place my logo right about there, and I'm going to hold down the shift key, and I'm going to drag the box and make the box, oh, I don't know, maybe 25% smaller. I'm doing this just by eye. I probably did a lot of refining to this when I got done, but I just don't have the time to do this. As a matter of fact, it's already 9:20, so I'm just kind of slapping a few things down here so that you get a sense of how I might approach doing this. But there are some refinements that go into this. Now that I've made this box smaller, I'm going to go up to the object menu, and I'm going to go fitting, and I'm going to fit content proportionately.
Yes.
There we go. So now what I've done essentially, and it's probably still a little bit too big, so I'll actually shift and make it a little bit smaller. Do it again. Object fitting, fit content proportionately. And now I have the exact same logo, but it's smaller, and that's how I want it to appear on the back panel. And I bring up the artwork and place it approximately where I want it. And you see where I'm beginning to look like what I did here? So what I think I'll do now is I think I'll probably place some text onto this panel first. Let's see how we do that, all right? So I'll come back over here, and I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to go into Tonight, and I'm going to call that my Aqua Tri-fld, AQUA_TRI_FOLD. And what I would like you to do, I'm going to do this so I can show you how I want you to do this. You're going to name yours. I'm going to call mine Bill Sweeney, BILLSWEENEY_Aqua Tri-fld. So I would kind of like you to do the same thing where you put your name and then Aqua Tri-fld on yours. All right? And hit save. And it'll save that. And now I have Bill Sweeney Aqua Tri-fld. So when I, in the end, make this thing as a PDF for you to look at later, it will be named. And when you send it to me, I'll have a record of who did what. Okay? I'm going to quickly do one more thing here, and that is I'm going to go into the print production week 3, and let's see here, Scuba Blue resources and Scuba Blue copy. Okay, so here we go. So I am opening up this file because this is also something that I sent you, right? Let me fit this thing. Go to the View menu, and let's fit this thing to fit with. There we go. All right, so you should also have this copy in here. And I would say probably you would want to use this copy because you can cut and paste this copy, all right? So now that I've got this, I'm going to leave this open, and I'm going to show you how to cut and paste a little bit of the copy, all right? So we go back to the original here, find your own paradise in the exotic islands. All right, so let's find that. Let's first of all go back to our layout, and we're going to click, and I'm going to create a box that's going to go like this, and we're going to go File. Actually, you know what? I got to go like this. Come in here and go find your paradise in the exotic islands. I'm going to click and go Edit Copy. All right, and then I'm going to come back to InDesign, and with that cursor in the box, see it where it's blinking? That means that the cursor's set in the box. I'm going to go Edit Paste or Control V. and find your own paradise in the exotic islands. Again, what I'm going to do is select the type, and I'm going to come up here and change it from Minion to Myriad. There we go, Myriad Pro. And I believe I'm using semi-bold for that, I think. And I'm going to make it, I think it was 18 point. Is that about right? What would you think here? It's bigger, isn't it? Yes, it is. All right, so I'll go back and I'll make it, let's try 24. And that's probably too big. Probably going to go back and make it around 20. 20. There we go. And drag this thing over slightly. Yeah, and that actually looks pretty good. That's probably pretty good, or close enough for our purposes. You know, again, as I say, I probably refined this quite a bit. It's already 9:25. I don't have enough time to really spend all the time I need to refine this. I think what's most important, though, is that you generally get the idea of what I'm doing, all right? So now I'm going to select this font. Once again, I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to click Paper, and now I have my text set as paper. And let's take another look. All right, so enjoy aqua excursions, dive adventures, and there's my copy that's going to go there. So what it means is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to have to create another box, another type box, click and drag to create another type box, right, like that. And then I'm going to come back to my text, enjoy aqua excursions, dive adventures, click on that, copy it. And by the way, just so that you know, if you're working in an agency, a graphic agency, where's my box? Let's see, where is it? There it is. Okay, and Control V, paste it. Okay, just so that you know, if you're working for a graphics company of any kind, chances are you guys will not really be writing the copy yourselves. There will be somebody who's a copywriter who will be writing the copy for you. And it will be a very common occurrence for them to submit copy more or less like you see here in Microsoft Word. This is the general program that these copywriters use to create this copy. So whereas this might be a little strange to you now, you will come to find this very normal, that you'll get copy submitted to you this way, okay? So I'm just saying that you should get used to it. So basically, now that we have this in here, once again, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to change the font. And I could probably do this with a style sheet, but I'm not going to be working on enough of it to bother with it. I'm just going to be doing a little bit of this. So I'm just going to set this up and give you a look at this. I think this was probably 18 point. That's probably pretty good. And I think I'm going to drag this over to about there again. And let's see how I had it. I think it was excursions, dive, adventures. Okay, so I do want to break that line. And I think actually, so I'm using the Shift Enter, and that is a line break, but it's a soft line break. And I'm going to probably try 20 on that as well. 20. And there we go. That's actually pretty good. And I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to change that to paper as well. And now I have my, and this is actually the wrong weight. I want this thing to not be regular. I also want this to be semi-bold as well. And actually, now that I think about it, I think that's semi-bold, and I actually think this is bold. There, that's probably right. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Okay? So you see what's happening is, and you can also align these things, you know, by clicking that and clicking that, you can align them to the left like that, and now you've got these things more or less aligned. And I take a look at my, see how I got this turtle a little bit higher up? I can come in here and I can take my turtle and I can move my turtle up. And actually, I think what it is my text up here is actually bigger. I think this is actually bigger and it breaks differently. So let's quickly take a look. Yeah, find your own paradise in the exotic islands. So actually, I'm going to click on this right in here, and I'm going to go Shift Enter in the exotic islands and Shift Enter. And now I can make this bigger. And I'll probably bring this thing up to, I don't know, maybe 30 point. Nope, too big. Go to 24 and probably 28. Let's try 28. Let's see how that looks. That's probably okay. File, save. So you get the general idea about
Yep.
how to work with this, and then what you're going to do is, I would recommend, if you want to, you can use this copy, because I basically have the copy here that I've created for you. And in the end, what you're going to come up with is something that looks pretty much like this. Like this. So what I want to do now is I want to go to the pages, and I want to show you a little bit about the inside. Okay, so I'm going to switch up a little bit, and I'm going to jump onto the inside here, and I'm going to show you how I did my background. I did my background by coming and creating a box that's going to bleed through the entire piece. The entire inside of this is going to be one color that is going to essentially bleed 4 ways. Okay, once again, file, place, because you're going to be placing a piece of art, and I'm going to look for my piece of art. There it is, my reef art, and hit open. And there it is. Look at that, right in there. Now, if I want to see how big this piece of art is, I can click on it, and you see where it ends right here? It's actually not long enough to go all the way to the end. But that's really okay, because the way I did this, again, was in Adobe Photoshop, and I've actually made this thing bleed, or not bleed, but go transparent to absolute white. So you're not going to really get an edge here. It's going to actually just go white, and that's perfectly fine. Now, there's enough of this down here that you can adjust, you know, the height of this however you want. And I personally think that's probably pretty good right there. Right there, pretty good. Okay? File, save. And that's what you do to get the entire background covered. Now, I also have another piece of art that I want to put in here, and that is my my diver. I got another diver, so I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag a box out and go File, Place. And I'm going to come in, and I'm going to find my diver. There's my diver, and I'm going to hit open, and there's my diver. Click on my diver, and I'll try to get my diver to situate itself in the box properly, if I can get them all in that box. The box is a little small, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the box, and I'm going to make the box a little bit bigger. And that's good there, and that's good there. There he is. There's my diver. And notice that I can even rotate my diver, so I can kind of turn the diver a little bit so he's diving down, and I get kind of a nice look out of it. Okay? So now I have a little diver that I've added to this mix, and I can place him wherever I want. So there's the inside art so far, and it kind of looks like this. I'm going to start putting my text up here. So let me quickly go in and grab my text. So that is Aqua Excursions. Let's go down to that, and that is, where is it? Here we go, right here. Aqua Excursions Dive Adventure, that's the first one. And I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to come up, and I'm going to go to my layout, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag a box out, something like this. Now, I just want you to know, Control V, I paste it, oops, all right, well, edit, undo, and let's click on this, and let's go edit, paste. There we go. Okay. I want you to know that I did, watch when I click this, I did violate this panel. So that means that this text is going to be hidden until you open this thing up fully. I'm only doing this with the headline. I'm not going to do this with any of the body copy. Look when I come over here. See what I did? I only did that with the 2 headlines right here. I did not do that with any of this copy that I'm using here. So that's what I want you to understand, is that if you're going to do something like this, I don't really have a problem with it, because I would do it myself, and it is something that's commonly done. Violating, you could even, if you wanted, run this all the way across the top completely. I didn't bother doing that because I actually think this logo, I mean this layout, I think this layout looks actually very nice, the way it kind of flows on down and across. I think it works very well. But I'm saying you can violate, but be careful how you do it, okay? All right, so let's go back to this. And once again, I'm going to select this. And it is going to be myriad. There we go. And it's going to be bold. And it's going to be, oh, I don't know, what was it, a 24? Yeah, it's probably 18. Let's try 18. 18 and 20. Huh, how about that, huh? Let's try 20. 22. That's probably it. That's probably pretty good. And then, of course, it is going to be white. Oh, you know what? See how I, by clicking on that without having the text selected, see what it did? It made the box white. So remember that when you do this, you want to make sure that you tell the program exactly what you want to color. And there I made that white, and that's showing up pretty good. Let me just copy one more bit of text here, and that will be the next lines. I'll make that box like that. And we'll come in and grab my text. I believe it's those two lines right there. Copy and paste. There you go. And once again, I'm going to format this. Myriad. Hello, where are you at? There we go. And that's going to be bold. And I think it's probably going to be 2018. Let's try 18. That looks pretty good. And it's also going to be white. Oh, no, sorry, black. That's going to be black. There you go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to position this up to where I think it's comfortable placed with this. Now, what you might want to do with this, because it is white and it is kind of light, instead of making this bold, you might want to go, actually, it doesn't have black. So I'm stuck with bold. There you go. That's what I'm going to have to get that right there. So now I have some text on here. And what I'm going to ultimately do is I'm just going to keep building this and building this up until I end up with this guy right here. Okay? So what I'm going to do at this point, because we are getting very close to the end of this, is I want to show you how to export this. Do you have any questions or anything you want to ask me about this before I proceed with this? Anybody?
No, I'm good.
You guys are all good with it?
Yep.
Think you'll be able to do this?
I should.
Okay.
We all should.
All right, so what I'm going to do now is so you understand essentially what I'm going for is this guy right here. I really want this thing to end up looking like this. And I think you get the idea that it ultimately will. You just have to build more of the elements. I haven't really built enough to make the whole thing look that way, but it's getting there, right? I mean, that you can see that. So here we're at the final piece. This is what the final pieces look like. We got the inside done, the outside done. One of the things that you want to do is you want to go to Edit, and you want to go to Spelling, and you want to check the spelling. That's the first thing that you're going to want to do. It's very critical that you do this. Now, I happen to know a bit about this, so I'm going to just watch what it's telling me here. And this Samu is the name of a person, so I'm going to ignore that. And Ridge Mills is the name. I'm going to skip that as well. It's not incorrect. Live Aboards, I'm going to leave that because that is actually okay. That's the way they wrote it. I'm going to leave that. I happen to know that. And Scuba Blue is the name of the company. I don't change that. Bora, I think it's Bora, I think is correct. Bora, yeah, Bora. And there you go. So I don't really have any typos in here, and I think that part's good. So I'm going to go to the File menu, and I'm going to come down here. I really would like to show you how to package this, but I think I'm going to wait until next week to show you how to package this. Let's see. Is there anything else I want to do with this before I go ahead with it? File, place, revert, Adobe presets, export. Yeah, you know what? Actually, no, I'll wait. I'll wait till next week. So I'm going to go File, Export, and I'm going to choose Adobe PDF Print. Now, notice something here. See, it says Adobe PDF Interactive. Got to be careful because there's two different types of Adobe PDF in here. You got Adobe PDF Interactive and Adobe PDF for print. what we're going to be doing is we're going to be printing this. So we really have to have this thing set up for Adobe PDF print. So I'm going to click on the print, go to my desktop, go into Tonight, and it's going to be Scuba Blue, and I'm going to change this from Scuba Blue Final to Scuba Blue Tri_fold, Tri-fld. And hit Save. Now I get my export Adobe PDF. Here is where I want you to pay attention, because there's a couple of things that we have to do to make this right. First things, we're going to drop this down and we're going to choose Press Quality. Click. These settings create Adobe PDF documents best suited for high quality pre-press printing. Creating PDF documents can be opened with Acrobat Reader. This is critical. You want it to be press quality, okay? You want to make sure that all the pages are printing, and the rest of this stuff you can just ignore for the time being. And then you want to come over and you want to go to marks and bleeds. Now, this is very important. In order, we went through this last week, but this is the same thing. In order to get this so that it is actually correct for the printer, what we have to do is we have to give the guy printer marks. Now, something interesting happened to me. I'm going to click on All Printers Marks. What happens when I use All Printers Marks is I get crop marks, I get bleed marks, I get registration marks, I get color bars, and I get page information. All of these things are useful for the printer. But last week, I was working with a client that had a single product sheet that was being created. And the printer told me that he did not need the page information, the color bars, the registration marks. All he needed was crop marks and bleed marks. Now, I don't know why that is, and I didn't bother asking him. I just noted that that's what he said he wanted, and that's what I gave him. But usually the printer will want crop marks, bleed marks, registration marks. Remember we talked about registration marks, and you had that in your assessment or your quiz. Remember the quiz? We talked about registration marks and what they're for. I'm going to put them in. And color bars are basically something that the printer uses to check color. I'm going to put that back in. And then page information. And then the other thing that I have here is I'm going to include the slug area, and I'm going to use the document bleed area, or the document bleed settings, and I'm going to hit export. And now this should be processing. When I drop this down and open up Tonight, there's my Scuba Blue Tri folder. Now let's take a look. If I open up my Adobe Reader and I click on this and I drag and drop it in there, there you have it. Check it out, everybody. This is what I want you to send me. Check this out carefully. You have your crop marks, see them? You have your crop marks for your bleed. You have your color bar, and you have your, see what they have here? The registration marks. You see it? This is what it should look like, and you should have 2 pages, an outside and an inside spread, and both of them should have all those marks. That is exactly what you want to have when you send to the printer, unless, of course, the printer tells you to drop certain things. Now, I do have enough time. Actually, I don't. It's 9:43. Do you have any questions, any final questions about this? Because really, we're at the end of our class. Are you guys good with this? You need anything else from me?
I'm good with the project.
Yeah?
But the assessment, talking to the printers, do we need to have like certain things ready to show the printers?
No,
or just getting quotes?
No. All you need to do is you need to contact the printers either by phone or send them an email and instruct them to take a look at the notations that you give them, the information that you give them, and ask them to give you a price quote and make sure that the price quote is written either in a PDF form or in an email that you can transfer the information to something that you can get it to me. And make sure that you have a phone number and the name of the printer that you use to get the quote.
Okay.
All right? So you guys okay with this? Are we happy?
That sounds good to me.
All right. Then you know what? I appreciate you all coming. I'm going to end the recording right now, and I will see you next week.